President, please be seated. The chamber is now back in session, and we would like to give the floor to the prosecutions to put questions. But before we hand the floor to the prosecution, the chamber need to notify party of the oral ruling on Nuon Chea defense request to delay start of S21 witness. During the hearing of 24 March 2016, the Nuon Chea defense, joined by Keo Sampon defense, requested that the chamber delay the start of the hearing of witnesses and civil parties on S21 until after all witnesses had been heard, first on the Phnom Kraul and all consigned security centers, and in any event until after the Khmer New Year holiday, in order to allow the defense additional time to prepare for the S21 and internal purchase topic. It asserts that alternating between witnesses related to different security centers has imposed difficulties with regard to preparation, and that S21 and the internal purchase topic are particularly important to the defense. In the alternative, it suggests that several civil parties testify on impact hearings restricted to the Phnom Kraul and all consigned security centers prior to the Khmer New Year holiday. The co-prosecutors, joined by the lead co-lawyers, do not object to completing the Phnom Kraul and all consigned witnesses prior to starting S21 witnesses. However, they submit that no hearing days should be wasted and that S21 witnesses should be heard if necessary to avoid a break in hearings. For the reasons put forward by the defense, the chamber grants the request on an exceptional basis and will not begin hearing witnesses or civil parties concerning S21 until after the Khmer New Year recess. The chamber notes that at most 2 witnesses are scheduled to be heard next week, and it considers that the remaining days, when the chamber will not sit, will provide the defense more time to prepare and to review the international co-prosecutors' most recent disclosure of potentially exculpatory material. Document E319/43. The chamber will provide further scheduling information as it is informed of witness availability. Now the chamber gives the floor to the co-prosecutions to put questions to the civil party. You may now proceed.
I'll be asking you some questions today on behalf of the co-prosecutors, Mr. Civil Party. I wanted to start going back to your training to be in the military that you received in Phnom Penh. Who conducted your training in Phnom Penh? And specifically, did you receive any political education from Son Sen while you were in Phnom Penh?
បាទដែល
Regarding my training in Phnom Penh, I did not remember the names of the people, but Ta Son Sen came once every 2 weeks.
And I wanted to ask you about something you said in your civil party application, document E36760. You were describing the instruction from Son Sen and about drills that you had to perform. And you said, I quote, "I did my utmost to succeed in the drills because I feared that if I didn't do so, I would be killed." End of quote. Why was it that you feared being killed if you didn't perform your drills well?
បាទខ្ញុំដែល
I felt afraid because if we did not implement according to the military policy, we would be accused of being betray the Angkar or not love the Angkar or not take our responsibility as a soldier seriously.
Okay, I'd like to turn to the period that you were in Mondulkiri with Division 920. You were asked about the unit you were in, and you said that you were in a company that was directly under the division. Do I understand, am I correct that your company was not part of either Regiment 91, Regiment 92, or Regiment 93? Your unit wasn't assigned to any of those three regiments. Is that correct?
I was within the division authority. My company was not part of any regiment. It was part of the division, so my company was flexible in its mobility.
Pardon me, my honors. My receiver went out, so I lost part of that. But I think I got the gist of your response, Mr. Witness. Where was it that you worked in this company? Were you at the division office, the same division office where Tachin worked? And if not, where was the location where you were assigned?
I was with him at the division, but he assigned me to base at the borderland area. I was assigned to be based at the borderland area of Khmer and Vietnam. And we were on the move from places to places. We were assigned to dig trenches to defend the border.
Thank you. Where was Tachin's office, the main Division 920 office? Where was that located?
It was at Koh Nhek.
And how often did you go? I know you spent most of your time on the border. How often did you go to the division office where Tachin was?
បាទមិនសូវញឹកប្រហែល
Not often. Sometimes I went there once every 2 weeks or sometimes once every 1 month because I spend most of the time at the battlefield area.
And did you know in the area where the Division 920 office was in Konye district, did you know of offices that belong to the sector 105, specifically an office of the sector secretary, Lang, called K17, and an office of the sector military chief, Ta Sopia? Did you know those people, and did you know where their offices were?
បាទដែលបន្ទីនោះគឺខ្ញុំមិនសូវ
I was not certain about the location of the offices.
ភាគតិចទេខ្ញុំមិនសូវស្គាល់ច្បាស់ដែរបាទ
As I told you, I was not so sure about the location of the offices.
Did you know who Ta Sopia was? Did you ever meet or see him?
បាទខ្ញុំអត់ដែរបាន
I never met him.
And you've talked about being detained for a period. You said you were blindfolded. You described the location. Do you know where the location where you were detained, where was that in relation to Tachin's office, the Division 920 office? Do you know, are you able to tell us where it was that the prison where you were detained, where it was located in relation to the Division 920 office?
បាទដែលបន្ទី
It was Division 801 which organized the prison. Tachin was not the one who organized the prison.
No, I understand that, but Tassan had taken over as the head of Division 920. He came from 801, but he had taken over as secretary of 920. Do I understand correctly?
Yes, you are right. He was transferred from Division 801 to take charge of Division 920.
And what I'm asking is about the office where Tachin used to work. I know he had already been arrested, but the office where Tachin worked, where was the prison located in relation to Tachin's old office?
It was to the south of the office. It was near Ochba stream, and there was a mountain. There was a small mountain with the shape of the turtle cover.
And do you remember approximately how far south of the division office this prison was? How far was it? Close? Can you give us some estimate?
It was probably half kilometer away from each other.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Civil Party. That's helpful. I want to go now to the events, the arrests of Tachin and others from Division 920. Do you remember how you first learned that Tachin and Deputy Secretary Tasoy had been arrested?
I did not know much about this, but I heard that he was arrested because he was accused of betraying Angka and he was a network of the UN. He was accused of hating the Angka's regime, and I was not certain whether he really betrayed Angka or not. Because I myself never heard him saying that, oh, we needed to betray Angka and we needed to fight against Angka. I never heard him saying so.
And can you tell us how long was it after Tachin and Tasoy were arrested that you were arrested? How many months or how long was it after their arrest that you yourself were arrested?
It was 1 month. It was 1 month the most that I was arrested and detained.
During that period, were you aware of other Division 920 soldiers being arrested in between the period of Tachin's arrest and the time you were arrested? Do you remember whether other people were also being arrested during that period?
Yes, I know. Other people were also arrested, including Comrade Kol, Comrade Non, and another comrade that I cannot recall the name. Oh, it was Comrade Yang.
The three people you just mentioned, comrades Cole, Nunn, and Yane, what were their positions? Where did they work?
Comrade Kol was in the company, and Comrade Non was also in charge of the company.
To help you, just to help us pin down the time that you were arrested, Mr. Witness, we have records from S21 as to when Tachin and Tasoy were arrested. Your Honors, document E3342, the OCP revised S21 prisoner list, indicates that Division 920 Secretary Men Ming, alias Chin, entered S21 on 16 March 1977. He is number 5,118 on that list. Deputy Secretary E. Chui, alias Soy, entered S21 on 17 February 1977. He is number 1966 on that list. So the deputy and the secretary, Ta Chin, were arrested around February or March of 1977. Do you think that it was around April 1977 then that you were arrested? Was it in the rainy season? Does that help you give us any more specific estimate or recollection of the month when you were arrested?
My arrest took place in Kadak season. It was during the harvesting season.
And I'm sorry, what months are the harvesting season where you were located?
It was in November. In November. It was probably in November or December. These 2 months were the harvesting time.
So am I correct then that it may have been quite a few more months after Ta Chin's arrest when you were arrested, more towards the end of the year? Is that correct?
Yes, you are right.
And you indicated that you described how 3 people came to arrest you, pointed guns at you. Did you know who these 3 people were?
I know them. I know the people who came to arrest me, included Comrade Payne and Bay and Comrade Soy, alias Sai. So these were the people who came and pointed the gun at me when they arrested me. So I would like to confirm again, the 3 people were Comrade Payne, Comrade Sai, and Comrade Bay.
And you previously indicated that one of those people, Payne, was Comrade Payne, was someone who had been in Division 920. Were the other 2 also cadres who had been in Division 920 before the purge, or were they cadres who came from Division 801?
The 3 people originated from the same division with mine, that was Division 920. But for the people who ordered the 3 people to come and arrest me, they were from Division 801, and I did not know them. I did not know the one who ordered them to come and arrest me.
Mr. Witness, we've heard some evidence that Division 920 cadres were sometimes involved in arresting Sector 105 cadres, and one witness has indicated in his DC Cam interview the following, Your Honors. This is document E3/8651. This is an interview of a witness who worked at the K11, the sector military office. E3/8651, Khmer 000-42261, English 0115-6493. He said, I quote, "When people from the division were to be arrested, the sector forces would be used to arrest them. If the people of the sector were to be arrested, the division would be used to arrest them." End of quote. Do you have any knowledge either of Division 920 cadres who had assignments to arrest people from Sector 105, or do you know whether any sector cadres were involved in conducting the purge of Division 920, in addition to the 801 people?
I did not have much idea about this, but what I knew was that people were sent from Division 801 to take charge of Division 920. Regarding the structure and the process of arrest, I did not know much.
Now, you testified that in the case of Tachin and the Deputy Secretary Tassoy, that they were called to study sessions in Phnom Penh. With respect to other division soldiers who were arrested during the purge, did you hear how they were sent to Phnom Penh? Did you hear anything, or do you know anything about that?
Answer: I do not know about that either. How they were arrested, I only knew that they were sent for study sessions.
Let me ask you a few questions too about some other people within Division 920 and what happened to them during 1977. You indicated that there were 3 regiments: Regiment 91, Regiment 92, and Regiment 93. Do you remember who the commanders were of those regiments under Tachin, and what happened to them in 1977?
Answer: I do not know all of them, the commanders of those regiments. I know the commander of 91. I know some people from 92, Regiment 92, but in fact only one individual from 92 was known by me. Yat, there was one individual by the name Yat from 91.
I want to...
Suan was in charge of Regiment 92. These were the 2 individuals I have known.
Mr. Witness, I want to read to you one document, contemporaneous document. Your Honors, this is document E3 1199, E3 1199. This is a document, Mr. Civil Party, that is dated the 6th of April 1977. It is from Tassan, sent to Son Sen under his alias, Brother 89. And in the second paragraph of this telegram, Tassan wrote the following to Son Sen, quote, "Of the cadre who remain, change has been visible in 92 with regard to Comrade Sorn and Comrade Un, battalion secretaries. When our cadre went down to further reinforce the battalions. However, there's nothing out of the ordinary with regard to the masses." And next to this report from Tassan to Son Sen, there is a handwritten notation that says, "Arrest them." The person here from Regiment 92 named Comrade Sorn, did you know him? Was this the secretary of Regiment 92?
President, you have the floor now, National Legal Lawyer for Civil Parties. Mr. President, the pronunciation of my name is not correct. The first name is Son, and the second name is On, Son and On.
Did you know Son and Un in Regiment 92? And if so, who were they?
Answer. Soon, the person I knew was Suan. Suan was from 92, Tasuan. His name was Suan. He was part of Regiment 92, not Son, to my recollection. Perhaps I may have confused the name, or you may have confused the names. Suan from 92.
And was he the secretary of Regiment 92?
He was the commander of that regiment. He was head or chief of 92.
Your Honors, for the record, the date of this telegram to Son Sen was the 6th of April 1977. On the 11th of April 1977, Regiment 92 Secretary Hem Son entered S21, and you'll find that in a list of prisoners smashed on the 19th of September 1977, number 35, which is in document E3/2285, Khmer ERN 00009083 through 85, English 00873-168. Mr. Witness, do you know when Tachin and Tasoy disappeared, do you know what happened to their wives and relatives after they were arrested?
សាច់ញាតិរបស់គាត់នឹងមានជួបបញ្ហាអ្វីដែរទេបន្ទាប់ពីអ្នកទាំងពីរនោះត្រូវបានចាប់ខ្លួនឬក៏បាត់ខ្លួននោះ
បាទ
Answer. After the husband disappeared, wives wept and cried, and they said their husbands did not betray Angka. Why Angka arrested their husbands? They were so pity on their husbands.
And do you know what happened to them later in 1977?
ប្រពន្ធឬក៏សាច់ញាតិរបស់គាត់នឹងជួបនឹងបញ្ហាអ្វីដែរទេឬក៏មានអ្វីកើតឡើងចំពោះពួកគេទេ
បាទ
Answer. I do not know how they went through difficulty, so I do not know about that. I was at the front line of battlefield, and I was not yet coming back through the rear battlefield.
One last question about the wives. Do you remember the names of either Tachin or Tasoy's wife? Did you know them? Do you remember their names?
Answer. I cannot recall their names, their wives' names. I do not know. I did not know at the time their names. Some people called him Saint John.
សម័យនោះគឺ
Usually in the regime, names changed on many occasions, and some people did not use the real names.
I want to turn now to some questions about the period you were detained. And first, can you clarify for us, were you detained for 6 months, or was your period of detention 1 year? I wasn't sure from the testimony I heard. Can you clarify, if you were arrested in late 1977, how long was it that you were detained?
Answer. I was detained for perhaps 3 months and 10 days.
And the other prisoners while you were there, who were these people? Were they also soldiers from Division 920, or did they come from other units?
I did not know about the origins of those inmates. They were in the holding cells or detention cells, and walls blocks me from seeing them.
Do you remember how many guards worked at this prison?
Answer. 3 of them. Sometimes 4, sometimes 3.
มันបានច្រើនទេ
Not many of them were there.
Mr. Civil Party, you've given a description of where you were detained. I want to read to you now a description that comes from a cadre, a soldier, a sector soldier who worked at Phnom Krau. This is Your Honor's document E3/7705, E3/7705, Khmer ERN 00236-724, English 00239-506, French 00276-987. This is how this cadre who worked at Phnom Krau described the prison there. Quote, "The prison at Phnom Krau was made of wooden logs, like a pig pen, and had a thatch roof." End of quote. Mr. Civil Party, does that sound like the prison where you were detained?
តើលោកដាំម្ដងរដ្ឋពេលនេះគិតទៅថាដូចជាអ្វីដែលលោកបានឃើញនាពេលនោះដែរឬទេ
Answer. What is the prison you are referring to? President, you have the floor first, Copper.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not sure how the description that was given is in any way descriptive. It's talking about a building that seems to be possibly any building in that area. So I'm not quite sure why this is in any form descriptive and in any form something that should remind the civil party to acknowledge that that is indeed the same building.
ដំណឹងរដ្ឋពេលនេះទទួលស្គាល់ថាការរៀបចំនេះ
That's the purpose of the question, is to find out. I think it's a fairly vivid description of a building, and I just want to know whether that matches the building where he was located.
តាមអ្វីដែលសាកដើមម្ដងបានឃើញឬត្រឹមត្រូវទៅតាមការពិត
Mr. Civil Party, this person described a prison at Phnom Krau that he said was made of wooden logs, like a pig pen, with a thatch roof. Does that description similar to the building that you were detained in?
ទីនោះនៅកាលនោះដែរឬទេ
Answer. The detention center fence was made out of wood, and the roof was made out of thatch and cane leaves.
And you've described that there was a number of buildings at the prison. Was there a wall of any sort that surrounded all the buildings? The building you were detained in, the interrogation hut. You said there was a building where the guards were located. Was there a fence around the perimeter of the prison?
នឹងដែរឬទេ
Answer. No fence surrounding the perimeter. As for the interrogations location, it was a small hut where 3 hammocks could be tied and people could sleep in those hammocks. And the prison was made out of log and with thatch roof and another kind of plant leaf. And that detention of prison was used to house the prisoners for a shorter period of time. And I could see that the wall of the prison was made out of big log. But as I said, that prison was not used to detain the prisoners for a permanent basis. That was the provisional prison, and it was not completely built, or it was not built completely and closed and also locked to prevent the prisoners from fleeing.
Do you remember, was there a reservoir in the area of this prison?
គុកនឹងដែរឬទេ
Answer: no, no reservoir, but there was a stream. Not big, a small stream with water in all season, and sometimes water remained in the holes of the stream.
Did you know during the time you worked in that area, before you were detained, were you familiar with a dam that had been built at Phnom Krau? Do you remember that?
Answer: I recall Crown Mountain, but I rarely visited location at Phnom Krau. Usually I was assigned to be posted at the front battlefield.
Was the prison where you were detained, was that next to Phnom Krau, or was it some other mountain or hill that the prison was next to?
ក៏នៅជិតកូនភ្នំណាមួយដែរឬទេ
I was detained to the south in the divisional office. The location of that detention center was about 500 meters away from the divisional office. That prison was a provisional center to house prisoners, and perhaps prisoners would be kept there for 1 month, and after which they were sent away to be killed. That was my thought at the time. Perhaps inmates or prisoners were detained at that center for 1 or 2 months only.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful, Mr. Civil Party. I want to ask a few questions about your interrogation now. You've talked about being interrogated, being subject to electric shock, and beaten. How many people conducted your interrogation, Mr. Civil Party?
លោកតាមដឹងរដ្ឋបវេណី
Sometimes 3 interrogators came to interview or interrogate me, sometimes 4. On some occasions, was electrocuted or electric shocked. After a 2 rounds of electric shocks, I became unconscious, and they received no confession or answers from me, and later on they beat me, not seriously, but there was no any other answers from me. As I said, I did not betray Anka, and I felt sad, and I felt painful at the time, since I had never betrayed Anka, so it was a false accusation.
How many times were you interrogated? How many days and how many times were you interrogated?
After I was arrested, 4 days or 5 days later, or 1 week later, sometime I was interrogated 1 or 2 times a day. I was forced to answer, but how could I respond to the question, since I did not betray Anka? I served Anka from the very young age, I was very loyal and I was working to defend the country.
The people who interrogated you, were they the guards who worked at the prison, or were they people who came from outside the prison to conduct your interrogation?
Answer. Those who were in charge of the prison sent me out, and those who were from 801 interrogated me. It was Ta Son Pram. It was from Ta Son Pram's location 801.
មិនដឹងតាមេបញ្ជាមក
I did not know whether those people were ordered by their superiors to come and interrogate me, or perhaps they just came without having any instruction from their superiors.
And you said that you were subject to electric shocks. How was it? Can you describe for us in as much detail as you remember, how were you shocked? What did they use to give you electric shocks?
បាទ
Answer. They use battery, not the power from any engines. Perhaps 100 mA battery or 70 mA battery. Well, it was not a big battery. So as I said, perhaps that prison was a mobile prison, and it was on a mobile basis to house prisoners to be killed.
And let me come back to this again. Were you interrogated on only one day, or did your interrogation continue on for a number of days? And if it did continue, how long was the period that you were subject to electric shocks, beating, and interrogations?
Answer. In relation to electric shock, they spent much time interrogating me. On one day, I was interrogated for that whole day, and it did not happen on a continuous basis. They did not interrogate me on a daily basis. Sometimes they said they had the instruction from their superiors to interrogate me in order to elicit confession. If not confessed, I would die. And they said if I was willing to answer, I would survive. So at the time, I did not have anything to confess. I thought only the fact that I would die since I was tied up and I could not flee. I did not know whether Angka had the instruction from Angka to beat me, or that those people violated the instruction. I did not know whether it was the instruction from Angka, or they did that arbitrarily. It was my good fate that I survived, and thanks to the goodness of my mother that I could survive. And as I said, I never betray Angka. Because of my good deeds, I have survived the regime. I felt so painful when going through the regime. At the time, perhaps the leaders did not issue such instruction, but since they were leaders, they had to be responsible for the actions. Leaders should have known about the welfare of the people. The Prime Minister, I believe, is well aware of the welfare and livelihood of the people. Because at the time in the regime, the leaders were not aware and did not have the information. They did not provide good welfare to their people. I was not a senior high-ranking official, so I did not know all the details, but if I were, I would have known. I myself was a soldier to defend my country. However, my parents, siblings, and relatives had all been killed. So how suffering I suffered. Although I am a good man, I would commit other offenses because of that. I feel if you were me, you would feel unhappy and you will feel very painful. Although leaders had kind heart, when such thing happened to them, they would not have such good heart again. President, that's enough. Civil party, you will have the last chance to address your suffering before the chamber. Please listen to the question carefully, and there's a little bit more time for the co-prosecutor to ask you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me just ask one or two more questions. Mr. Civil Party, you mentioned that in addition to being subject to electric shocks that you were beaten when you were being interrogated. Can you be more specific and describe for us how you were beaten? What did the interrogators use? What did they do to you exactly?
I was beaten with a club, and that club is as big as my arm. They beat me 2 or 3 times, and I lost consciousness. Each time that they beat me, I lost consciousness. And then after a while, I regained consciousness, and they beat me again and again to extract my confession. And because their beating on me was so serious that I lost my consciousness and I could not say anything.
Thank you, Mr. President.
President, the floor is now given to Judge Laven.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I would like to provide a document with your leave, Mr. President, a document. This document E3/8648. It is the list of the soldiers of Division 920 who apparently were released from S21. So if it's possible, I would like to provide this document to the civil party.
President, yes, your request is granted. Please, court officer, bring this document to the civil party. Another floor is given to Counsel Victor Kope.
Judge Lavenia and I were on the same pace because that was my request as well. However, there are 100 names on this list, and I was considering whether it would make sense to give this document now, provide the civil party a chance to study those 100 names, and then return to the matter tomorrow morning, because I have it here as well. There's a lot of names with a lot of functions. So if the civil party would have the opportunity to study the document carefully, then I think that would make more sense than do it now quickly.
President, the floor is given to the Deputy International Co-Prosecutor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no objection to the idea of the witness looking at this and being asked in the morning. I do want to add one other piece of information that I hate to burst Mr. Kope's bubble. But we've already tracked a number of the names on this list, and it's consistent with some of the interviews that were done by DC Cam of people who were supposedly released. These people were in fact not released, they were sent to Presar. Many of them were subsequently sent back to S21 and killed. So there's a lot of additional documents that relate to these group of people that the Chamber needs to be aware of. I was planning to deal with that in the S21 phase because it's rather involved, a lot of documents. But you should be aware that there is a lot of additional documents about these people.
It's also the subject of a investigation done by DC Cam. It led to a booklet which we filed as a document. I believe it is admitted as evidence. I do not know which evidence the prosecution is referring to in relation to my bubble, but I'm happy to hear it. We did our own investigation, obviously, tried to see if we could track down those names. But that doesn't change the fact that I think it is helpful if the civil party gets the document with him and sees if he recognizes any names.
President, thank you for your comments. It is good that we get the testimony from this civil party because he was a former soldier of Division 920. Mr. Civil Party, can you read and write? Answer, no, I cannot read and write much. Question, when you say that you cannot read and write much, does that mean, can you read what is written on that paper? Answer, my eyes are not so good and because I have a poor eyes, I cannot read well. President, the floor is given to the National Lead Co-Lawyer for Civil Party. Thank you, Mr. President. If there is no objection, court officer, I would suggest that court officer read for the civil party. President, that is fine to expedite the process. The lead co-lawyer for civil party can read for the civil party. It is now convenient time for the adjournment. The chamber will resume its hearing tomorrow on Thursday, 31st March 2016 from 9 a.m. And we continue to hear the testimony of civil party. And the chamber would like to thank Mr. Son Wood for your testimony, and we would like to inform you that your testimony has not come to an end yet. Therefore, you are invited to come back tomorrow at 9 o'clock. court officer, in collaboration with Vesu, please make necessary transport arrangement to send the witness, to send the civil party to where he is staying, and invite him back to the courtroom tomorrow at 9 a.m. Security personnel are instructed to bring Khieu Samphan and Nuon Chea back to the detention facility and have them returned to the courtroom tomorrow morning before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.